Okay, so today I have the 7 categories of otherness interview. And the first question is how have you experienced unearned advantages associated with being a member of the norm group in American society? And that is being older. So, what do you think are the advantages of being older?
Well, one I think is I have more experience, so I feel like people listen to me a lot more. Um, Probably another one would be now that I'm older, I have more financial means to live. I have a nicer house or a better place to live. I make more money. Um, Probably another advantage of being older is I'm a lot more comfortable in my skin. I feel like I've had a lot of experiences and I'm not worried about what everyone else thinks. I feel like I'm more comfortable with who I am as I get older. Um, Probably, um, and I think because I've had more experiences, I'm more confident in my ability to do things like be a parent or um, if I was in the working force right now, I would feel more confident in my ability to carry out my job because I'd have more experiences.
So, that's kind of leads us to the second question. How does that benefit you now? So, like being in your own skin or like experience, how does that benefit you now?
Well, I think it benefits me now because one, I'm a lot more relaxed. I'm more, um, I feel more free to be who I am. I don't feel like I'm worried about what everyone else thinks. So I feel like the decisions I make, I feel more confident about. And probably that's probably the biggest thing, feeling more confident about what I decide in my life and just going with it.
Okay, and then being older, what do you think the disadvantages of being young are? Or too young?
Well, I think when you're young, you don't know what you don't know yet. And so I think you don't have enough experiences to understand that maybe decisions you make aren't the best decisions because you just don't have enough experience to understand what some of the consequences are. So I don't think you always think everything through. And when I was young, I made decisions that weren't probably in my best interest because I thought I knew more than I did. And I feel like as you get older, you learn more, and so you make better decisions. So I
Okay.
think that's a disadvantage of being young. I think you're a lot more impulsive. You don't think everything through, and so I think when you're older and you've had more time to experience some things, you make better decisions.
Okay. So the second question is how have you experienced embedded forms of prejudice or discrimination being associated with a member of the exception group? And for this, we're using um, being a female.
Okay.
So, what do you think the disadvantages of being a woman are?
Well, I think historically men have always ruled the world. So I think for women, it's always an uphill battle to try to live up to what men have done. Um, I'm a nurse, so being a nurse has made it a little bit easier because it's a very female driven profession. But I think anytime you're in the work world or workforce as a woman, you have to live up to the men's standards. Men also are paid more than women for the same kinds of jobs. And I think women, especially in the business world, have a harder time because if a woman behaves like a man or a woman isn't nice, then people say she's mean or she's a witch or she's not the right kind of leader. But if a man acts like that, they just think that's male behavior and they think that's okay. It's much more accepted to be aggressive or assertive. But when women are aggressive or assertive, people view that more negatively. So I think it's much harder for women in that kind of role.
Okay. And then how does that like affect everyday life, like how you act and how you go about your life?
Well, I think sometimes women feel like they have to uh, be stereo or behave in their stereotypical roles. Like women are supposed to be quiet and not supposed to um, be aggressive. And so I think in my own life, I probably have done that at times, been less assertive and stood back and let men make the decisions. And so I think that's a hindrance. And I think when women do stand up and take their own roles on, people kind of crucify them for that. And so I think I probably have done that in my own life, and I think other women have too,
Okay.
because they don't want to be labeled like that.
Thanks.
All right.